Good morning, everyone. It's Tuesday, February 2nd, coming to you live from Seoul. I'm Kim Mo-gyeon. Before we get started, these are the stories we're following at the top of the hour. South Korea's frontline healthcare workers will first receive Pfizer's COVID-19 vaccine supplied by the COVAX facility by mid-February. Top U.S. infectious disease expert Dr. Anthony Fauci says that even though the new strains of COVID-19 may put a dent in some vaccines' effectiveness, vaccines can lower the chances for the virus to mutate. And the newly confirmed U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken says Washington will be reviewing its policies towards North Korea, possibly including additional sanctions. We begin with the COVID-19 situation in South Korea. The country reported 336 new cases on Tuesday, staying below the 400 mark for the third straight day. Of the new cases, 295 were locally transmitted and 41 were from overseas. There were 10 additional deaths, raising the death toll to 1,435. South Korea's total number of cases has now surpassed the 78,000 mark. Meanwhile, ahead of the Lunar New Year holidays, authorities say they plan to ease some distancing policies if the situation is deemed safe and the number of new daily cases stabilizes. South Koreans will first receive Pfizer's COVID-19 vaccine supplied by the COVAX facility. First in line for the inoculation are frontline healthcare workers. A panel of local experts endorsed the use of AstraZeneca's shots in people aged 65 and above. Our Lee Kyung-un reports.
We heard from the Global Vaccine Supply Program, the COVAX facility, that we will receive some 117,000 doses of Pfizer's vaccine for some 60,000 people in mid-February.
That'll make Pfizer's the country's first COVID-19 vaccine. South Korea will subsequently receive an initial batch of AstraZeneca's, also from the COVAX facility. This paints a clearer picture for South Korea's vaccination plan for the first quarter, targeting frontline medical workers. Many expected AstraZeneca's to be first, since it is ahead of Pfizer's in the approval process. But the country decided to grant Pfizer emergency use authorization, making full approval unnecessary. This will enable the Pfizer vaccine to be administered as early as the third week of February. South Korean government agencies and the military began a 3-day mock drill on Monday, focused on transporting and storing these temperature-sensitive vaccines. Apart from the doses from COVAX, South Korea will see the large-scale delivery of some 20 million doses of the AstraZeneca vaccine in phases throughout the first half of the year under a separate contract with the company. While the Food and Drug Safety Ministry is speeding up its review, it was able to settle a controversy about the vaccine's efficacy and safety for older adults in its latest consultative meeting with experts.
The vaccine's efficacy for those over 65 years old has been proven and is similar to that for younger adults. Also, data show a permissible level of safety. Therefore, many experts said seniors should not be excluded from vaccination just because there's a lack of data.
The government expects the AstraZeneca vaccine to be given final approval in the late February. In its latest update on the vaccination plan, South Korea said it will be including all foreigners enrolled in the national healthcare scheme. Lee Kyung-un, Arirang News.
The top infectious disease expert in the U.S. is stressing the importance of vaccinations, especially as new variants of COVID-19 continue to spread like wildfire globally. His remarks come as countries ramp up their vaccination programs amid concerns of a supply crunch. Lee Seung-jae has more.
White House medical advisor and the top U.S. infectious diseases expert, Dr. Anthony Fauci, says that even though the new strains of COVID-19 may put a dent in some vaccines' effectiveness, existing vaccines can still prevent serious illness and slow the spread. Speaking at a White House briefing Monday, Fauci stressed that if people are vaccinated en masse, the virus will replicate less and have fewer chances to mutate.
The answer is you need to get vaccinated when it becomes available as quickly and as expeditiously as possible throughout the country. And the reason for that is that there is a fact that permeates virology, and that is that viruses cannot mutate if they don't replicate. And if you stop their replication by vaccinating widely and not giving the virus an open playing field to continue to respond to the pressures that you put on it, you will not get mutations.
Meanwhile, amid concerns of a supply shortage, German biopharmaceutical company BioNTech says it will provide up to 75 million more doses to the EU in the second quarter. The company says it and its partner, Pfizer, intend to increase deliveries from the week beginning February 15th. The comments come as the EU announced that deliveries of Pfizer's vaccine would be temporarily reduced due to production issues. Amid concerns over supply shortages, countries continue to ramp up their mass vaccination programs. The UK says 9 million people have been given their first shot. The country has been ramping up its vaccination program, inoculating as many as 600,000 people in a single day. Among those vaccinated, almost 500,000 have also received their second dose. In Turkey, over 2 million people have been vaccinated as of Monday, as healthcare workers were the first to get the shots on January 14th. With the UK variant having spread to over 70 countries and the South African variant to over 30 countries, governments are scrambling to get more vaccines as quickly as possible. 이승재, Arirang News.
Having achieved democracy just over 10 years ago, Myanmar is on the brink of seeing its hard-fought value disappear. Its military has once again seized control of the country and in an apparent coup detained some 24 major leaders, including the famous Aung San Suu Kyi. World leaders have condemned the latest move, and the UN Security Council will discuss the latest developments in a closed meeting on Tuesday. Our Pei Eun-ji has more details.
The UK has summoned Myanmar's ambassador to discuss London's concerns over the military coup. Prime Minister Boris Johnson had earlier condemned Myanmar's military leaders, saying the vote of the citizens must be respected and civilian leaders should be released. The United Nations Security Council will also discuss the situation at an emergency meeting on Tuesday, calling the coup, quote, a serious blow to the democratic reforms. The UN spokesman said he fears the situation will get worse for Rohingyas, an ethnic Muslim minority group in Myanmar.
There are about 600,000 Rohingyas that remain in Rakhine State, including 120,000 people who are effectively confined to camps. They cannot move freely and have extremely limited access to basic health and educational services. So our fear is that the events may make the situation worse for them.
The UN's top human rights official said in a statement that she is gravely concerned about the situation and that there are deep fears of a violent crackdown on dissenting voices. She also urged the military to refrain from using unnecessary or excessive force. The Nobel Committee also said in a statement that it is, quote, appalled by the military coup in Myanmar. It added that Aung San Suu Kyi was handed the Nobel Peace Prize in 1991 in recognition of her brave struggle for democracy in Myanmar. The committee asked for the immediate release of Suu Kyi and other arrested politicians. But despite concerns, the military announced that 24 ministers and deputies have been removed and 11 replacements have been named, including those for finance, health, and foreign affairs. It has shut down all passenger flights in the country as well. Pei Eun-ji, Arirang News.
America's new top diplomat says the country is mulling over sticks as well as carrots to bring back North Korea to the negotiating table over its nuclear weapons. Without providing any details, Anthony Blinken also explained that Washington will be reviewing its policies towards the regime. Our Kim Hyo-sun reports.
The newly confirmed U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken said the Biden administration is considering both sanctions and incentives when it comes to its North Korean policies. Speaking during an interview with NBC, he also underscored that the tools to bring the regime back to the negotiating table may include additional sanctions, which will be imposed in accordance with U.S. allies, as well as diplomatic incentives. Without elaborating what they could be, Blinken said President Biden had instructed his national security team to review U.S. policies toward the North across the board. Such a remark seems to be in line with the Biden administration's goal to review the entire U.S. policy and approach toward Pyongyang. He told his Senate confirmation hearing last month that Washington will look at ways to increase pressure on the regime, while at the same time possibly providing humanitarian aid if needed. The biggest variable could be possible provocations from the north. Many North Korean experts have pointed to the possibility of a long-range missile test, nuclear test, or another move by the regime to place itself on the list of priorities for the new U.S. administration. Kim Hye-sun, Arirang News.
After exiting the European Union last year, the UK is forging new partnerships. With potential deals in mind, the UK has formally requested to join the Comprehensive and Progressive Agreement for Trans-Pacific Partnership. Our Choi Jung-yoon has the story.
In an attempt to become an enthusiastic champion of global free trade, the UK made a formal request to join the Comprehensive and Progressive Agreement for Trans-Pacific Partnership, or CPTPP, on Monday. The British government said joining the partnership would remove 95% of tariffs between it and the 11 current members. In the UK's case, a deal would mostly have on food, drink, and cars, while also giving a boost to the technology and service sector.
What we want to do is place Britain at the heart of that global growth, selling in things like services and digital where distance matters less.
The request, meanwhile, comes on the first anniversary of Britain's formal departure from the European Union. Britain has argued that the foremost benefit of leaving the EU is the freedom to strike trade deals around the world. Following Monday's official request, the UK are moving quickly to reach consensus on the need to revitalize global trade after the period of increased nationalism that surrounded the Brexit vote.
We're at the first stage of the process, but unlike the EU, there aren't the strings attached, so there's no court, there's no control over our borders, there's no money to pay in. So this is all about lowering tariffs and increasing opportunities for British businesses and British jobs.
The CPTPP bloc covers a market of about 500 million people, while generating more than 13% of the world's total income, worth over $10 trillion. And with negotiations set to start later this year, Britain is hoping to expand the group. It has called on the new Biden administration to join the pact, opening a backdoor to closer UK-US trade ties. Currently, the U.S. is not part of the partnership as former President Donald Trump withdrew from the original version of the Trans-Pacific Partnership. Choi Jung-yoon, Arirang News.
Samsung Electronics has climbed back up on the Fortune's list of world's most admired companies, re-entering the top 50 after previously making the cut in 2019. This year, the South Korean tech giant ranked 49th by receiving an average score of 7.56 based on attributes such as innovation and product quality. Samsung Electronics is the only South Korean company to make the top 50, with Hyundai Motor Company and LG Electronics both named in the top 200. Meanwhile, Apple topped the list for the 14th consecutive year with an average of 8.59 points. Innovative technology can do more than just provide greater convenience. Some can even save lives. A good example is the new tool to help prevent drunk driving. Our Chang Tae-yeon went to the National Forensic Service to find out how this works.
In the last 3 years, hundreds of people have died as a result of drunk driving. An average of 360 people die every year in South Korea. And it's not just the person behind the wheel who's being hurt or killed. The National Forensic Service is here to solve this problem. Aside from checking DUIs through a person's breath or blood, they have developed a new way to analyze alcohol metabolite.
Alcohol metabolite is the byproduct left in the body after alcohol is metabolized in the liver. So even after the alcohol is gone, we can detect it within 72 hours after drinking.
This method was first applied in the second half of 2018 and is being tested on an average of 2,000 cases per year.
It's applied to various fields like drunk driving related to hit and run, sex crimes, and autopsy.
There's another piece of innovative technology at this institute. They can check for fake banknotes by attaching a special device to a smartphone which uses UV light to see if it's real or fake. This device has been issued to the police. If there are any complications, the police can send a picture of the bill to National Forensic Service for thorough inspection. Innovative technologies are helping to raise the quality of scientific investigation. 장태현, 아리랑 뉴스 원주.
Good morning. Another cold blast is here, along with biting winds, and many central regions are under cold wave alerts today, so dress extra warmly on your way out. And highs will also be 11 to 13 degrees lower than yesterday. And of course, highs in Seoul will not exceed the freezing mark, getting up to just -3 degrees Celsius under sunny skies in most parts, while Chungcheong, Namdo, and Jeollabuk-do provinces will receive light snow this evening. Speaking of which, snow is on the way for tomorrow evening, and the capital region could receive 1 to 5 centimeters of snowfall, while other parts of the central region could see up to 10 centimeters of heavy snow into dawn on Thursday. And Thursday's morning temperatures will be sub-zero with a low of -6 degrees Celsius here in the capital, so plan accordingly. Commuting will be rough on Wednesday evening and Thursday morning. That's Korea for you, and here's a look at the weather conditions around the world.
That's a wrap for us at the hour on Arirang News. We'll be back with more of the day's headlines at noon Korea time, so stay tuned. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.
Winter sports facilities that had to close temporarily have been permitted to reopen. However,